Hello everybody, 'tis I, TheRumpledOne. I just got finished watching a video for the second time. I watched it last night for the first time and it was so good I said I have to go back and watch it again and take notes. The name of the video is Ghetto Physics. That's right, Ghetto Physics. Now, you might wonder what it's all about. Because see, they talk about the game and they talk about pimps and hoes, but you see, actually it's a presentation that wakes you up to the reality of mind manipulation. You see, we've all been gamed our entire lives. And it's one of these things that I've been coming up to this point. And it just so happened I was in the G section in the videos, so I wound up picking up Ghetto Physics. I said, hey, that looks cool. Copyright 2011, so it's current. And like I said, the most important thing to know that the game is mind manipulation. And what they do. Now, if you're a subscriber of mine, you probably saw some of my videos about what matters, and I did that book review on new, because I've been wondering how they can get me to look at something that I already own and buy something similar. For example, just got the new Maxim magazine in, so I'm reading it. They got this new Leatherman tool. The Leatherman OHT with 16 tools in one. Bottom line, it's 82 bucks. Well, I just bought a Leatherman Sidekick last year for about 29 bucks. But I'm looking at it. They got my attention. You see, if they can get your attention, then they can sell you something. So, what the first part is to defend yourself against the game is you got to see what catches your attention and why. You got to figure that out. So, hey, it looks cool. Yeah, it sounds cool. Yeah, all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're on www.leatherman.com buying yourself a tool that you already have one of. And in my case, I actually have 3 Leathermans and about, I don't know, another 2 or 3 knockoffs. Why do I allow them to do it? So you got to ask yourself, are you going to let them do that to you? Because that's part of the game. That makes you a hoe. Because you see, the whole idea between this pimp and hoe paradigm, these archetypes, is that these are the words they use in the film. Is what you have to understand is that the pimp puts the idea in the hoe's head that she wants to go out and make the money and give it to the pimp. And it's that simple. So when you look at what you do, you might say, I'm not a hoe. That doesn't apply to me. Well, guess again, it does. It applies to all of us. Like I said, I took notes. So when you're looking at yourself, you go, who do I work for and why? Ask yourself and answer that question. Ponder that. And then ask yourself, what am I working for? And when you think about it, you'd probably go back, and it might be something you saw in that box we called a TV. Now, the sad thing is that if you're watching this video, you know I'm preaching to the choir, most likely. But it's all those other people out there that'll never, ever get to see this. If it wasn't for the F-bomb, I'd be walking this over to the school district and say, you got to show this to the graduating seniors. Give them an education. Now, you all know how I feel about guns. I usually don't bring this out and flash it on the video. Why am I doing it? Well, you see, right now we know the Second Amendment's under attack. But that's part of the game, and let's look at it. Labels. Labels is the game. Because once again, they're putting these labels in your head. They're telling you, they're setting the parameters. And they're taking you down that path and making you think between a terrorist or a law-abiding citizen a domestic terrorist or a law-abiding citizen. Basically, a wolf or a sheep. And if you don't see that distinction, then they got you. So you got to wake up. You got to reject the labels. You got to think for yourself. Now, a lot of people say, man, you sure to get wind up on those videos, or you're yelling or screaming. No, don't mistake passion for anything else. See, once again, it's labels. You see, once you allow that box or some print media or anybody to put their labels into your head, which then you apply, you've been gamed. It's that simple. You see, they talk about metaphysics, about you creating your reality. Now, of course, I believe in Ringer. Reality is reality. It's not what you think it is. It's not how you perceive it. It is what it is. But the thing is, if you see yourself as weak, then you're weak. If you see yourself as strong, then you're strong. As you see yourself that you don't have any other option, then you don't. But if you see yourself as resourceful, then you've got options. Once again, do you let them put something in your mind which then you put out, or do you go, no? Do you filter that and think for yourself, and then you create what you want to create? And that way you don't get gamed. Now, the first quote I wrote down was, do people really want to know the truth? Ponder that for a few minutes, a few seconds. Do people really want to know the truth? Because you see, if you know the truth about things, if you know the real truth, and you can see that it's wrong, you got the responsibility to correct what's wrong. Why do you think they're going after the Second Amendment? Because we can all see it's wrong. Trillions of dollars of debt and a deficit of trillions of dollars is wrong. They know it can't last. I mean, nothing in nature lasts forever. We have no example of that. None. Zero. Stars, poof. They implode or they supernova. They're gone. Lifespan of animals, lifespan of trees. Nothing lasts forever. And so this government knows that, hey, the clock's ticking and it's almost over. Why do you think they want to take away this? Because see, we know it's almost over. And the only way that they maybe can sustain it a little more is for them to take this away from us. You've got to understand that. And you see, we know it's wrong. That means that our forefathers gave us the ability to make it right. We know it's wrong. We've got the ability to make it right. That's a huge responsibility. But we don't do anything about it. At least we haven't yet. So, we talked about hoes and pimps. See, the pimp, you can define the pimp as somebody who's using somebody else's resource to fatten their pockets. Some people call it taking advantage. Think about that for a minute. Ponder that. You use somebody else's resource. It could be their mind, it could be their back, their hands, whatever. You're using their resources to enrich you. They don't get any benefits. NCAA, college basketball, millions of dollars of TV contracts. The students, well, they get an education. They're athlete scholars. We all know that's BS. But you see, once again, it's their labels that they put in our head, and then we look at the world using their labels. But some people are going, no, this ain't right. And that's how they make change. So once again, a pimp is somebody who chooses to take advantage of others for their own personal gain. And it's just that simple. Now, a hoe. When hoe is out on the street and she makes the money, she has to give it all to the pimp. She gets zero. That's right, zero. Now maybe the pimp takes care of her, lets her give her a place to sleep, put some clothes on her back, but she brings all the money to Pimp Daddy. It's just that simple. But you see, in the movie, they say if you got a credit card, show it. That means you a hoe. And the thing is, you worse than a hoe, because if at the end of this month you got more debt than last month, that's worse than 0%. That's negative. You've been pimped. It's that simple. Are you catching on? Now, this is the one that I really like it. Or actually, there's two things I really like here. See, I'm talking about the game. If this is something new to you, maybe you heard it with different labels. But if it's brand new to you, ignorance of the game leaves you vulnerable to the game. If you don't know they're gaming you, you've got no paradigm, no knowledge that the game exists. You are being gamed. It's that simple. It really is. And the thing is, if you can't see it, then you don't believe it, right? So, and you can't see something unless you believe it exists. So if you go, oh no man, you're wrong, there ain't no game out there, you're not going to see it. But if you go, wait a minute, let me check them out. Maybe let me watch some TV and see what they're trying to do to my mind. What are they trying to put in here? Let me read the newspaper, listen to the news. Oh yeah, now you can see the game. Now you can see the big picture. But see, it all goes down. They talk about macro, micro. And that's what it is. You see, the whole is reflected in the parts. Parts reflected in the whole. Or the big is reflected in the small, and the small is reflected in the big. That's what they're talking about. But you see, when I was talking about this here, the Second Amendment, and this gun, you see, they use the word terrorist. That's a label. You see, and the label is part of the game, because that's the part of metaphysics that they're going to control your internal reality, which will then cause your external reality to be in line with what they want as opposed to what you want. So if you want freedom, if you want liberty, you have to have greater power, or at least power equal to anybody else out there. Then they're not going to mess with you. But what I realized was this. See, the game will keep going on and on and on forever. Only the players change, as they say. And let me explain how that's going to work. Let's just say I had a magic wand. Poof! There's no more government anywhere on the planet. Governments have just all vanished. What happens? Well, there's going to probably be a couple of thugs, bad guys, whatever you want to call them, people who have maybe a different view of your property. They're going to try and take it. Well, they're going to need more power than me to take mine. And so let's say they make an attempt and I hold them off. Well then, I'm going to let my neighbors know, hey, you know what, we got some people out there trying to take my property, might try and take yours. So we're going to form together. We're going to unite. So you see, once we unite, guess what? Government. So that's what I was talking about. The large is reflected in the small, and the small is reflected in the large. So what would happen is that would start to happen on a bigger basis, and we're going to go right back to where we were. We're just going to circle around. Might be a little different in the results, but the picture is going to be the same. The game's still going to exist. We're still going to have government. We're still going to have laws and rules, and somebody's going to want to call the shots. That's just how it is. It's just something to be aware of. So unless you want to exist all by yourself and just stay away, where then nobody does anything to you, that's okay. But as soon as you start to interact with others, then you're going to interact with somebody sooner or later that sees things as slightly different from you, or maybe vastly different from you. How are you going to resolve those differences if those differences cause a conflict between you and that other person, or you and that other group? See, I mentioned before in another video here in Mayberry, one man stood up. He caused a special election to happen and got here in Mayberry, what the city council tried to ram down the people's throats, he got it overturned. He didn't do it through bullets, he did it through ballot. But that's a small victory. But it's a huge victory, because maybe now he can get people together. We can go one by one and just, get this stuff off the books, and we can start having our own freedom, our own liberty, and just say, you know what? Let's just look for these ordinances and these rules that have been put upon us by these local powers that tax, and we can just say no more. No, let's have a special election. Let's get rid of these. Or maybe we'll say, hey, if you guys don't get rid of it, we'll have a special election. We're going to get rid of it. Now, do you want to lose more money? Or maybe you want to think and listen? We'll see what happens. But anyway, I know this has probably been a long video, and it's not really a video review of ghetto physics, but it's the lessons from ghetto physics. And the video is only 94 minutes long. But I'm telling you, when you watch it, get your pen and paper out and take notes. You might learn something. And hopefully, what will happen is you will wake up and smell the tyranny.